Hello, ladies and gentlemen. It's great to see you all again in the Psychology of Art class. Back with me, Satwika. And in today's video, we'll be discussing about the perspective of humanistic theory and cultural psychology theory on art and creativity. This following are the main topics that we will discuss through this lecture video, including the study of culture, art, and creativity, including a review of creativity from a cultural point of view, the cultural function of arts, and a review of humanistic theories regarding arts and creativity. All right, let's start with culture, art, and creativity. But before going any further, let's take another look at the definition of culture and art first. Yeah, there are various theories and experts who put forward definitions of culture and arts. So in this lecture, we will take the understanding according to Hofstede and E.B. Taylor, which say that culture is a way of life that develops and is shared by a group of people and is passed down from the generation to generation. And the way of life here includes many aspects, including the structure of values within the group, also the practices that are believed to be, including religions, politics, customs, language, tools, buildings, and not to mention works of art. Well, art here is then part of the culture, right? And it consists of various types of creative endeavors or creation, which can be in the form of dance, pictures, or paintings, architectures, music, and etc. And if we look at it from the perspective of cultural psychology, Glevenew here conveys that artistic creativity, it's not an individual product. So it is not the result of the brilliance brain of an individual artist, And he suggests that in viewing art, we must not let go of the relationship between the individual and his environment. Because art is created by an artist, and it's not that this artist is not is not separated from the environment or the other people in the culture that he lived, and also then the culture that developed at the time of the creation of art itself give influences to the art works of this artist. For example, a painter may not be able to create a spectacular painting depicting the Renaissance life, if there is no deep relationship between the painter and the Renaissance culture. And furthermore, from the perspective of cultural psychology, art has the power to influence society by changing opinions and instilling values in the society itself, and then translating experiences across time and space. But what does this mean? So art here serves as a means of communication. So art can be a medium for humans to be able to communicate with the others, despite different cultures, and at different times of life. So this communication can be done through pictures or paintings, through the sound or music or stories such as folk story and etc. As an example, we who lived in 2020 now, 2021 nowadays, we can communicate with Leonardo da Vinci, who lived in the 1500s, through his paintings. Okay, so for example, Leonardo da Vinci's painting Mona Lisa, when we look at the painting of Mona Lisa, we can communicate with Leonardo and understand how generally women at that time and that culture were dressed, the typical face and the body shape, even the way of life at that time. we can also change meaning and communicate with things that were important and attractive to Leonardo. All right, so let's now consider example of each function of art in culture. Yeah, so the first one, art is the embodiment of the society and a reflection of the complex identity of that society. So art is actually like meaty, yeah. It means that by looking artwork of in 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 um, in an era or culture, yeah, we can get complete information about the identity of the society when the art is manifested in that era. So for example, here by looking at classical Japanese dance, we can see the identity of the Japanese people who lived inside the palace or the kraton at that time the dance was made. From the variety of movements and movement motifs, yeah, we can see the personality of Japanese people who are depicted as patient and gentle and so on. From the costume or the clothing, we can then tell that Japanese culture is very focused on details and beauty. And from the music that accompanies the dance, it can be seen that the storyline of the dance and the philosophical meaning used by the Japanese people in that time on how they managing their daily life or the way of life of the Japanese people. So furthermore, the function of culture, other function of cultures is that art can bring meaning to human life, and of course then it will help preserve culture and society that uphold this art creation. For example, you can see this picture is the holy ceremony in India, yeah, which uses colored powder to make it look beautiful as a cultural um, uh, or artistic ceremony. Yeah? And the ceremony has been around since the 4th century, and this tradition is in the form of throwing various colored powder, which is believed to have originated from the story of the god Krishna, who fell in love with Radha. There are special meanings to these colors, yeah, namely red, which mean a celebration of life and marriage, while yellow symbolizes prosperity, green symbolizes fertility, and blue symbolizes peace and love. And this meaning behind this art festival is passed down from generation to generation, preserving, then it can preserving the Hindu culture and the identity in India itself. And furthermore, the cultural function of art also reflects a culture that is always changing. And art also has the ability to change the values of society. And to illustrate the function of this art, I give an example from the research of one of my thesis students regarding the anime or manga Boys Love from Japan, which contains love story between same sex, yeah, male and male. And it turns out that this genre of comics is widely liked by women, who are then often referred to as fujoshi. So regardless the pros and cons of the same-sex love in Japan, this comic genre has brought about a shift in the value of Japanese people. Namely, they're now they kind of like increased number of people or society that accepting the existence of LGBT. All right, then. Let's then continue our discussion of creativity and art from the humanistic perspective. Beforehand, let us first remember about humanistic theory that I believe each of you has learned this theory many, many times in your previous classes. So in contrast to the psychoanalytic and cognitive behavioral perspective that we have discussed in our previous meeting, which views that humans are controlled by the subconscious. Yeah, it's according to psychoanalytic, and according to cognitive behavior, human is controlled by biological mechanism, the nervous system, and the brain, and how our thinking works. While the humanistic perspective here views that humans have free will, and they are fully responsible for their life, for their decision and action. And according to humanistic theory, humans have the free will to change their attitudes and behavior, yeah, regardless of things that they cannot control. So this theory focuses on the great potential of humans who can exploit this potential to think rationally and then consciously as well. And the humanistic point of view or perspective sees human as a positive entities, yeah, full of potential with their own uniqueness and has a need for self-actualization. So let's take a look at this humanistic theories related to to arts and creativity. Yeah, so we will be mainly discuss about Maslow's hierarchy of needs and Maslow's resilience and creativity theory. All right, let's figure out about Maslow hierarchies of needs at first. Yeah, he conveys the hierarchy of needs theory or the hierarchy of human needs, yeah, and visualized it in a pyramid form like this, as you can see in this picture. Also, this theory has also received a lot of criticism. This theory has become very well known throughout the world and is used widely to explain human needs. And Maslow argues that humans must first meet their basic needs, including the food, sleep, sex, yeah. Also the security needs such as work, family, property, and then human move on to the psychological needs to be, for example, to be loved, friends, family, sexual intimacy, and etc. And after that, humans then will move on to the further needs. That human needs to fight for something better for themselves, yeah, in the form of self-esteem, self-confidence, then gaining respect from others, and etc. And interestingly, the self-actualization, as you can see at the top of this human pyramid, yeah, consisting the creativity. So the creativity is at the top of the hierarchy of needs. And then self-actualization here can be achieved if other needs underneath this pyramid have been met. Okay, and then at the peak of the need, there is creativity, which according to Maslow, creativity can provide a feeling of peace and make humans feel the whole. And creativity, according to humanistic theory, is a representation of the self, yeah? A representation of the self courage to be able to open up to the world and then interact with the world. So that's someone can free his mind to be creative. So according to Maslow, this ability to create can arise, yeah, when humans have fulfilled their physical and psychological needs. Therefore, Maslow here also argues that creativity is the highest human achievement. Humans reach their highest potential when there is a desire to create, when they have the desire to please themselves and others by bringing something new into the world, and those this person will create something or become the creator of something. And besides Maslow's opinion on humanistic theory about creativity, here we will overview about Maslow's theory on creativity. Primarily, Maslow connects creativity with resilience. Yeah. So, what is resilience actually? Uh, Resilient is it's an adaptive process, yeah, when a person facing difficulties, yeah, and resilience here utilizing the internal or external resources that a person can use to overcome a difficulty. And the personality of creative person is usually the same as that of resilient person. Yeah. For example, creative people with resilience people has a high tolerance for ambiguous circumstances. Yeah, that is, these people do not feel too disturbed and they can even adapt to uncertain condition. So for example, in this midst of uncertainty due to pandemic, yeah, uh, uh, resilient people can still adjust to it, yeah, because of the tolerance of uncertainty or the ambiguous circumstances. And then creative person also use flexibilities in the way of their thinking. Yeah, it means that they're seeing a problem as just something that colorful, not just black and white or true and false. Yeah, and there is a gradation in the way of thinking and they can adjust to their needs. This is what explaining about the flexible cognitive style. Yeah, and creative personality also often uses humor in approaching serious problem. Yeah, also the creative personality also being self-conscious and doing everything consciously. Yeah, usually they also expressive and expressing their ideas and opinions. Then the creative personality also tend to focus on discovering new things rather than just remembering information. Therefore, creativity here is used in the process of psychological therapy because the close relationship to resilience and thus it can increase the resilience of individuals. So for example, in art therapy, clients are supported to express their creativity through work of arts. Yeah, for example, creating paintings, music, and etc. And these works of art as a medium for training for this client to be able to make alternative solution using their creative thinkings, and then can transfer the process to be able to make alternative solution to the problem that they faced in their daily life. All right, so if we summarize, then the main point of humanistic theory in looking at creativity and art is that everyone is unique. Yeah, everyone has the potential. Everyone has the innate ability to be creative. Yeah, and then the second one, artistic art and creativity can improve emotional, spiritual, cognitive, and physical well-being by increasing the resilience of the individual. So that's all my explanation about the cultural psychology and humanistic perspective of art and creativity. Now it's your turn to think about this example, a case example. Um, I will explain a bit about the class activity here. Yeah, so please write your answer inside the assignment folder in the Google Classroom and write down your opinion or your analysis about the following artist or art form, yeah, that I will explain shortly. And you are free to write anything about it, yeah, but still it must be based on a reflection on a cultural psychology perspective or a humanistic perspective that we have just discussed. But you can't choose only one, okay? So here is Rianto. He is a Lengger Lanang Banyumasan dancer. He has he performed his dance in abroad, yeah, a lot of time, and his life story was appointed by the famous director, movie director Gari Nugroho in the movie of Kucumbu Tubuh Indahku, which recently won 8 Piala Citra, yeah, and became Indonesia's representative to be nominated for the 2020 Oscar. Here, Rianto as a dancer and choreographer was very inspired by the theme of body, which was inspired by Lengger Lanang Banyumasan. It's a typical dance of Banyumas in Central Java, in which this Lengger Lanang dance is a dance with female movement that is performed by a male dancer. Yeah, you can see the detail of the description of Rianto and Lengger Lanang, and you can also watch the video on Google Classroom to be able to understand more about this art form. And then after examining the story about Rianto and Lengger Lanang Banyumasan, you will be writing the your analysis, yeah, and your about this Rianto or the Lengger Lanang Banyumasan, but you still have to use the cultural psychology perspective or the humanistic perspective, and you can choose one. Let me give an example. Yeah, if you write about Rianto's personality as an artist from humanistic perspective, does he meet Maslow's pyramid of needs criteria? Yeah, try to elaborate from that side. Or if you want to write your opinion about Lengger Lanang Banyumasan dance from the perspective of cultural psychology, which is art as a form of communication, yeah, you can analyze this Lengger Lanang Banyumasan on that communication point of view. What is the objective of this dance? What things that wants to communicate to the audience or the people in this culture through the choreography and the story and the dancer of this dance, which is it's like transgender, yeah, and or maybe you can try to find another theme from Rianto as an artist and the Lengger Lanang Banyumasan dance from other point of views inside the humanistic theory and cultural psychology theories. Yeah, so have a great time of thinking, and please also post your answers, your analysis written in the folder of assignment for the class activities. Okay, there is no what you call it, there is no strict requirement for what kind of document that you want to post. You can use PDF or words, and you can just write like 1 paragraph, or if you want to write on 5 paragraphs, that also up to you. All right, so thank you guys for your attention to this video lecture, and I'll see you again next. Bye-bye.